It's horrible. It's horrible the way. I mean, it's a consequence of not understanding the universe, of not understanding the two kinds of order, of just seeing the universe through a paradigm of order and disorder, and from that perspective, and it's natural. And you can't expect people, our history to have understood immediately the whole universe and everything there is to know. And so, yeah, we have to go through these stages, but you do when you appreciate the two kinds of order and recognize that the universe is not order becoming disorder, but is the order of the past, the Big Bang, which is imbalance, or in a sense, a lesser kind of order, and the universe is flowing and moving towards, evolving towards symmetry order, or the whole, and becoming the everything. And so in a sense, we're moving from half to the whole. And when you understand that, looking back on the way we've understood the universe in the past as dying, as disintegrating, it's like coming out of the dark. It's an amazing step.
So, and the interesting thing about this is what we're talking about really isn't that far away from what some scientists are saying. Like, I've been quoting Seth Lloyd and his book Programming the Universe, who invites us to think of the Big Bang starting from the very first yes-no binary decision. And what you're talking about then, the Big Bang being the very first maximum grouping order, is really the same idea, isn't it?
Yes, I agree. It is very more to look at the Big Bang as the beginning of, or the core, the most simple expression of matter or distinction or form. And I mean, that's correct. Grouping order is the order of distinction and form and definition. But we need to appreciate the fact that grouping order is an order of imbalance, and in order for there to be distinction, there has to be this apart from that, and this apart from that means, in reality, it means positive apart from negative, or it involves some sort of symmetry, up down, right left. Everything is relative, and in grouping order is in a sense the side of nature that expresses the distinctions that are possible, and symmetry order is the kind of order that erases all those distinctions, and rather than erasing them into a nothingness, they actually are, the distinction is erased, but all the parts in a sense come together and form the whole.
So maybe we should just step back for people who are watching this who aren't familiar with the concept of grouping and symmetry, and just talk about exactly what those two orders are. One of the things, one of the examples that is often given for this is if you were to toss a coin 100 times, you wouldn't just end up with heads, tails, head, tails. You would end up with a mixing of heads, 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 tails, tails, heads, tails, heads, heads, heads. And if you were to then zoom in on that set, you would find places where there was more grouping, and you would find places where there was more symmetry. You would find places where heads happened more times than tails. You would find places which would be a grouping order, and you would find places where it did happen to work out to the 50-50 distribution that you're expecting, heads, tails, heads, tails. So if we're thinking of information equals reality, which if you type those three words into Google, you'll find some interesting stuff about that, then the fabric of our reality is basically a result of a certain amount of grouping that happened at the beginning, which selected from all of the possible universes that could exist the one that we're in right now, and that very first quantum frame is the maximum grouping order, and we're now moving towards the symmetry order that's going to happen at the other end of our universe. Do you think that's a fair way to describe it?
Yes, with the coins, in a sense, if you flip 100 coins, you can take and all the heads to one side, put all the heads to one side, and that's in a sense one group of all the heads, and then all the tails to the other side, and that's the group of all the tails, and that's the ultimate in a sense grouping order or definition. It's you have two groups, you have two opposite or polar groups, and the same is true with positive and negative. All the positives to one side, all the negatives to the other. So grouping order is in a sense things separated and divided apart. But then, as everyone knows, if you take positive and negative and if you combine them together, you create a neutrality, you create a unity, and then all of a sudden all you have is neutral. You don't have those positives over here or those negatives over here. Now it's interesting because that example is a good one, especially in relating it to, like, for example, music. Notes can be arranged in an orderly fashion. They can be in rhythm. There can be a steady rhythm, so that you have in a sense a positive, then a delay, which is in a sense your negative, and then your positive, and then your delay, and then your so you can have a steady rhythm, or you can bring all the notes together and make a rather than a rhythm, a repeating series, you can have them all together and make one loud sound. And that's an example of the way the more you divide all the positives and all the negatives apart, the more each becomes more pronounced. And that's, in a sense, the Big Bang. The first moment is the ultimate in pronunciation for the universe, for reality. It's the ultimate state of all the positives divided apart from all the negatives. And then the Big Bang happens, and that is, in a sense, the collision of the positive and the negative coming together. And then the universe, as the universe evolves, it evolves towards the state of being neutral. We know the expansion of the universe is now accelerating, and physicists are beginning to understand that the universe is moving towards absolute zero, and absolute zero is neutrality. It is what we think of as empty space. But once you appreciate grouping and symmetry, then you can realize, but the zero isn't actually nothingness or empty space. The zero is actually the full. It's neutral. It's all the positives combined together with all the negatives. And in terms of universes, or like the many worlds theory, we're talking about, it's a matter of seeing the whole or our universe as a tiny fragment. And so when you ask the question, well, how many other worlds are there other than ours? And when you start to imagine all these other infinite many worlds, when you see the world from the bottom up, when you see the distinction in form as above nothingness, then it seems the infinite number of worlds just seems so much. It just seems almost impossible because it's so much.